record button.
Okay, so I'm gonna say that again so everybody catches it. I'm glad I thought to look. That'd have been really sad if we didn't get everything recorded.
And I thought I hit the record button, but it didn't take. Now we're good to go.
I didn't see that little red dot, but we're good now. Okay, so like I said again, last week we talked about the work-money connection. Work begets money. Money comes from work. It's our responsibility as parents to teach that to our kids. It doesn't come from parents. That's not where money doesn't grow on trees. If you want money, you have to work. And this week, we're going to step into teaching children what to do with the money once they earn it. So we're going to be talking about saving and spending. Now we're going to address some more topics about what to do with money a little bit later on in the series, but today it's going to be about saving and spending. I remember something I was told in my youth, and I'm going to call it a fallacy. It's an untruth, basically. And this was the quote: "Expenses rise to meet income." That statement is only true for those who have not learned how to save and spend their money wisely. It took me a long time to figure it out, but I have found out that that is not true because I have practiced wise spending and saving. So I'm living proof that that is not the be-all end-all for everybody. First, before we talk about actual saving and spending, we're going to talk about personalities. Now, if you have a question as we go ahead and put it in the chat, and Kim, our moderator, will let me know periodically when we have questions. I'll pause every once in a while and try and address your questions, and we'll discuss it together. It's kind of like, this isn't really a lecture per se, it's more like a group discussion among friends. At least I hope you look at it that way. So, personalities. Now, parents with more than one child, you know they're all different. They are born with different personalities. This applies to money as well. There are some kids that are just natural savers, and there are some that are natural spenders. Each is different. They will handle money differently. It's our job as parents to guide them to be a little bit more well-rounded than maybe they come predisposed to be. Neither is right or wrong. It's not wrong to be a saver. It's not wrong to be a spender. They're just different. I happen to be a natural saver, but I've also learned it's okay to spend a little bit now and again. Being debt-free myself has made me more comfortable with learning to spend my money as long as I'm spending wisely. Now, a saver can learn to spend within reason, because we don't want to turn a saver into a total spender. And a spender can learn to save appropriately. There are appropriate levels. In fact, a saver that just saves money can become a hoarder, and that's not what we want either. We'll talk about that a little bit in a few minutes. It's up to parents to teach their children to have that balance between the saving and the spending. But it's also important that children learn this lesson, the saving and spending lesson, early, because when we are adults, these habits are totally ingrained in us, and it's hard to change. Who would say that it's harder to change as an adult than as a kid? Anybody have any questions so far?
No.
Awesome. Okay, we're going to forge ahead then. For very young kids, the thing I recommend starting with is making sure your children understand the value that's assigned to each coin and dollar bill. There's a funny little story or a poem. I didn't take time to look it up, but I do remember hearing this about a child who started with $1 and then traded it for 2 quarters because 2 is more than 1, and then traded the 2 quarters for 4 dimes because 4 was more than 2, and ended up with nothing. So they need to understand the value of each denomination. A dime is smaller than a nickel, but it's worth twice as much. And they need to understand that like a $5 bill is worth 5 ones, etc. There's something else that children need to learn. And I think a lot of adults, especially those, this isn't a talk on faith, but I think some faithful, we'll say God-fearing people tend to think that money is bad. Money is not good. Money is not bad. Money is an object. What matters is our attitudes and how we spend our money. That is what determines good or bad in this situation. Now, as adults, we should realize, hopefully by this time in our lives, we all realize that money is finite. There are some adults that have not figured that out yet. When your money is gone, it's gone. It's got limits, it's got boundaries. I'm trying to think of when I learned this. I think I learned this concept at a very young age. Think back as to when you might have learned it. Like I said, some adults still don't understand. You hear the joke about the lady who continues to write checks and she bounces the checks and her husband says, you spent all the money. And she says, well, how can I spend, how can that be? I still have checks left, you know, haha. It's finite. Hopefully most of us learn this as kids. I think that makes things a lot easier. But when we make mistakes with money as kids and learning that money is finite, that might be one of the mistakes, that one of the things that we go through, I'll say it that way. It's not as painful as a child as it is as an adult. So hopefully that's something that you learned as children, that money does have limits. One thing that will help kids learn the limits of money is spending the money that they themselves have earned. Now, it might be hard to watch, parents, but keep in mind that smaller people tend to make smaller mistakes. I noticed a question. Let's pause for a minute and see if I can answer that.
Yes, it says, at what age do you recommend beginning to teach currency values to kids? I know at our school, they start teaching in first grade.
First grade, okay. You know, I think every kid's going to be different, but as soon as they are old enough to understand numbers, I don't see how it would hurt to introduce kids to the value of each denomination. If they can understand that 2 is more than 1 and 5 is more than 2, then I think that's okay. You know, if it's too early, they'll probably just kind of shrug it off a little bit. I've heard that with multiple subjects in teaching children, and any elementary school teachers out there, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's better to teach them a little early than it is to wait. So yeah, start teaching them as soon as they can get numbers, and definitely if they ask, but maybe showing them money, having some cash around the house, and just maybe kind of playing with it a little bit. Does anybody else have any suggestions, something that's worked for them or something that they've heard? Nope. Okay, does that answer your question? I didn't see who asked that, but.
Catherine E.
Okay, Catherine, does that answer your question? Oh, you are yes. Welcome. Okay. All right, so back to letting kids spend their own money. It can be hard to watch. And they're going to make mistakes, and you need to let them make mistakes. Like I said, little people, little mistakes. Bigger people, bigger mistakes. You're going to want to bail them out. I'm going to suggest you don't. It's easier for them to learn with just a few dollars than with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars as an adult, and you get to guide them through that. One mistake many adults still make is putting the spending before the savings. Now, savings is first in the dictionary, and it should be done first. If you wait until you're at the end of your budget or bill paying session or whatever you want to call it, there's not going to be any money left to save. I find it interesting, and we'll call it karma, call it, you know, good juju, whatever you want to call it. If you pay yourself first, do a little bit of giving first, your money tends to stretch a little more. I've done a lot of kind of self-learning financial courses, and I remember going to one that was not religious based at all, and the guy teaching the class said, take 10% and give it away. Now that sounds really familiar to a lot of us that live where we do, but this was geared to everybody. He says, it comes back to you. So, and generosity and giving is another lesson for another time. But I'm going to suggest that you put spending at the top of, saving at the top of your things to do list before you start paying your bills. There's also the time value of money, which we don't have a lot of time to get into, but basically, the more you can put away early on in life and let it sit and continue to grow, the better off you're going to be in your retirement years. Very, very basic. Oh, yes. Richest Man in Babylon, Michaela. I've read that. It's a good book. It's a good book. So yes, save right off the top and teach your kids that too. So maybe it might be important to teach them to live off about 75 or 80% of what they earn, because they've got giving and saving set aside. Let's see, where were we? You're there to guide your kids. They're little, even when they're 16, 17, technically you are the legal guardian. Now, this is going to be an unpopular thing with teenagers and with even some adult children, but when they're teenagers, you still are legally responsible. You can make them do certain things, and I'm not suggesting you do that, but I am suggesting that you guide them from a young age, so by the time that they're 16 and they have that first job at McDonald's or the car wash or wherever it is, that they are they just automatically do it. They just put that money away, and it doesn't hurt. There are ways for teens to contribute to a retirement account of sorts. So if we want more information on that, send me a message, and Shirley and I will kind of lead you in the right direction on that. But it can be done. And man, if you could start something like that for your teenagers, it would be life-changing when they are my age. So, and I'm not going to tell you how old I am. So I'll let you guess. All right. So let's see. While I recommend 10% for savings, 10 to 15%, it's really between you and your child how much they should put away for savings. And then I think we should split the savings in half. You need to kind of save long-term, like retirement, and then you have some for bigger purchases. Some people want to make their kids buy their own car. That's a bigger purchase. So I see a couple of questions coming in. I will let's see, I'll let Kim read them if she wants. We'll take a pause here and answer some questions. Kim's looking for her mute button.
In the car, okay.
There, okay, it says, would you recommend putting money aside for saving where it is less accessible or out of sight, out of mind, especially with younger kids?
At least part of it, yes. Because that's what retirement savings looks like. It's out of sight, out of mind. You just put it away and don't think about it. If I thought about all the money I have sitting in retirement that I don't have access to yet, I might, I don't know, a nice new car sounds kind of fun. But yes, some of it should be out of sight, out of mind. And some should be building so they can see it build, because if they've got a long-term goal, I don't know, they want the latest video game system or something, they could see that they're getting closer and closer to that goal. So I'm going to say yes on some and not necessarily on another. Do we have another question?
Alex has a comment about savings.
Okay, Alex, we'd love to hear from you.
All right. So growing up, I got an allowance for doing chores. My dad paid me in cash. It was great. After a while, my dad decided it was too much of a burden to keep giving me cash. And so he decided that I'll just keep track of how much money I owe you for chores on a spreadsheet.
Oh, wow.
And that was, my dad's that way. And I am now that way also. But it was very encouraging for me to not physically have the money and to just like check in like once a month. And, it's like, oh my gosh, like how much I have has grown quite a bit. And I genuinely think that that's the reason why I became a saver later in life, is because I realized like if I don't touch it and I just like check in occasionally, like it was very encouraging to see how quickly it grew rather than trying to make it.
Interesting. How old were you when that started? I'm curious.
I was probably, I would guess 9 or 10.
Okay. Last week I talked about little kids. When little kids are earning money for doing chores, I think they need to be paid immediately so that they see that reward. But if you were mature enough to understand it at 9 or 10, and it sounds like you were, and that worked for you, way to go, Dad.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It can grow quite quickly if you're not watching it. I'm always surprised, but debt can do that too. I'm not a believer in debt, so we won't even talk about debt. So, do we have any other questions? And Alex, were you done? Did I cut you off too soon?
Nope, that was it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not seeing any more right now.
Okay, all right, I'll keep moving forward then. Let's see. Where was I? All right. I'm gonna quote the Bible. In Proverbs, it says that a foolish man devours all he has.
Oh, wait, hold on. One came through.
Oh,
sorry. How do you feel about CDs for kids as a savings?
I think there are places to get better interest on your money.
Okay, and then you have another one. It says, how early would you suggest opening a bank account for a child?
Oh, that is a good question. Is it just going to be for savings, or are you going to start teaching them about like debits and checks and things like that?
Lindsay asked that question. Oh, she said, not sure.
Not sure. Okay. Every kid's probably going to be different. That's a good standard answer. It depends. If they understand how to use, and you can help them understand how to use a checkbook, then that's not a bad idea. And if they're earning money regularly, I think a savings account is okay. And they can save for long-term purchases there unless they need to see the cash at home. They can save. It's not a place to leave long-term savings that you want to grow really well. That needs to be in specialized accounts that, like I said, a whole nother subject. I get excited talking about investing, but not everybody does. So it's going to be specific to the child and the child's understanding and the child's needs. But I think it's okay to open a savings just to put in there for long-term savings, as long as they've got some at home that they can still see. Was that vague enough for you, Lindsay?
Yeah, that was good. His problem is he has a little piggy bank, but he's constantly getting into it, and he's moving money into different bags or boxes, and it's just all over the place. I'm like, I just want something in one spot. Yes, you can keep some at home and, do what you will with it. But I'm kind of wondering if we have a set place in a bank, or if I just put it up high somewhere where he can't reach it.
How old is he?
He'll be 6 next month.
Okay. Well, open the discussion with him and say, grown-ups keep their money at the bank. And because we put our money at the bank gives us a little bit of extra money every month. Don't have to talk about percentages or anything. Just say we get a tiny, tiny bit because we keep our money there. Would you like to try that? Just a thought.
Okay.
Thank you.
Charlie said, I think having a savings account for a child as young as possible is a good idea so that birthday money, etc., could be put into it. Then Catherine E said, will investing be covered later?
Oh, we'll have to revisit that. It's not in this month, but we can definitely add that to our repertoire, so to speak, of parent conversations. We will get somebody who's a lot more fluent in it than me. We'll get somebody licensed like Shirley. She is actually a licensed financial planner. So maybe we can have her be our guest that day. But let's add that to the list. So Kim's going to make a note for me and
yes, I am right now.
Awesome. Okay. Awesome. Okay. If there's nothing else, we're going to move on a little bit. Go back to Proverbs. It says that a foolish man devours all he has, but in the house of the wise, there are stores of choice food and oil. Basically, wise people save money and foolish people spend everything they have. So, and knowledge, while it's important, is not the biggest key to success. It's behavior. It's the repetition. It's putting that money in the accounts, taking it to the bank. It's what you do, not, Dave Ramsey calls it head knowledge. It's not head knowledge. Here is where we're going to talk a little tiny bit about saving versus hoarding. Attitude plays a huge part. I know that I never watched that TV show Hoarders, but I think there's some real mental stuff going on with these people that they visit with. And I think they have an attitude of maybe, oh, let me think, just that there's maybe never enough. I don't know. Like I said, never watched it. That's not an issue of mine, but it's about your attitude about money. You just want to hoard every penny. You don't want to help anybody. That's not a good way to live. Natural savers can lean in that direction, and it's our job as parents to teach them to spend wisely and give wisely, and not have that attitude of it. And that's something that I'm not real good at, because I explaining or helping with, because I think there's maybe more to it than just behavior. Maybe it's a real scarcity mentality, but if you instill the habits in your children, then maybe they won't have that problem. Maybe hoarding won't be an issue for them. Anybody have any comments on hoarding? Nope. Good. Because it's not a very pleasant subject. Yeah.
Wait, we just got a comment.
Okay.
Let's see. Molly is a fantastic show about someone who was great at giving, very inspirational. I don't know who that is, but. Yeah,
I've not heard of that either. So any information that you can pass on, we'd love to hear about it and share it if it's appropriate to do so. Okay. So I'm going to quote Ralph Waldo Emerson. He says, "Adopt the pace of nature. Her secret is patience." So while teaching your children about saving and spending wisely, you also get to help your children learn that important character trait. They get to practice patience. I think I saw another one. Oh, it's a movie on Amazon.
Yep. And then Shirley said, "I can cover investing if you would like, not today, as I'm trying to be in a couple of meetings at this time." But she said, "I'd love to cover investing at some point, so we can do one later on."
We'll put that on our calendar. Awesome. Okay. All right. I could probably go on about saving all day, but we're going to move on to spending, unless there's any other questions that I haven't answered completely, or that anybody else, any new questions anybody has.
Let's see. Janelle said it is a fine line to teach children money is important, but not everything.
Oh, for sure. Agreed. That's why it's important to teach them about work, about saving, about giving, about spending. Yes. And the attitude all about it. But we know that money is what makes everything go round. You have to have money to survive. And having work to do is good for the soul. We talked about that last week. So yeah, hopefully we work at something we like, so that we can earn enough money to provide for ourselves, and we have a good attitude about it. But yes, it is a fine line. Anything else? Thank you for that comment, Janelle, I think.
I hope I haven't missed any, but I think we're all caught up.
Okay. All right. So every small mistake and lesson that kids learn about spending will reinforce the work-money connection that we talked about last week. We know it's easier to spend someone else's money, right? We tend to think a little longer and a little harder regarding what we're buying right now when we earn the money ourselves. I was raised by a single parent, and money was not real plentiful in our household. I remember getting a job as soon as I turned 16. And after that, I think I bought everything myself. But I had a friend who spent the entire summer working, and I think she was an only child, and I think her parents were doing okay, but they said, "Well, we'd like you to take your money and buy your clothes for school." And I went shopping with her, and man, she took all day to make those decisions. And she said to me, "Gosh, it's a lot harder to make these buying decisions when you earn the money yourself." And she's right. It's crazy. So kids are no different. They'll probably think a little bit harder, maybe not the first time or the second time, but especially with larger purchases, and they had to save for so long. It's okay to teach them, especially with large purchases, that it's all right to sleep on an idea if they find something they want and they just have to have it. it's going to be there tomorrow, more than likely. And it's okay to go home, think about it, and make the decision tomorrow. And sometimes it's not important anymore. Sometimes it will be, and that's okay. They need to learn that if they don't have the money for a certain something, that they don't buy it. If you spend your money treating your friends to ice cream, you're not going to have the money to buy that new shirt or that new toy that you wanted. It's okay to help them gather information about what they're going to buy. Maybe they want a bike, and maybe they've found a new bike, and I don't know what bikes are going for. I remember looking last year for mountain bikes, and the price was way up because of COVID, even used ones. But I do remember that a new bike was about double the price of a used bike. If they earn the money themselves, they might decide a used bike is okay, and that's all right. Parents, sleeping on a major financial decision is a good practice for you as well. If you haven't grown up doing that, I advise you to do that. So we're going to teach our kids that patience that Ralph Waldo Emerson talked about. We are going to teach them beyond the right now. And maybe not only will they learn wisdom in spending money, but they're going to learn some patience too. Okay, I'm going to pause for a minute and see if there's any questions come through. I thought I heard a ding, but maybe it was my Facebook.
No, I heard the ding too, but I don't see any more.
Okay, great. All right. It's also your job to teach them exactly the opposite of what the world is going to teach them. Okay, most people are buying what they want because they want it now. We live in a society of instant gratification. And these people will buy what they want regardless of whether or not they've got the money. Most people are also in a lot of debt and in big financial trouble. If they missed one paycheck, they would be in a world of hurt. If children learn now to only buy what they have money to buy, debt is probably not going to be even a consideration as an adult. Your guidance will lead to understanding, which will lead to wisdom with money, and that trait they will take with them into adulthood. Okay, anybody that's had little kids, which sounds like a lot of people that are with us today, you probably spent a lot of time teaching them rules about being safe. You know, when I remember it was the don't talk to strangers, things like, you know, stay away from remember to stay on the sidewalk, not in the street, don't smoke, don't do drugs, things like that. Have you thought about this? Have you warned your kids about sales tactics? Do your kids know why there are commercials on TV? Parents, do you know why there are commercials on TV? Advertisers have paid lots and lots and lots of money and spent many, many, many hours finding out what triggers us to want something that we see in an ad. They're good at it. They're down to the color palette. I mean, does anybody know why McDonald's is red and yellow? Those colors stimulate appetite. I don't know if you knew that, but they do. They're really good at offering deals so you can afford to buy something right now and not pay for it later. I remember hearing a commercial for a furniture store, and no payments for like 2 years. You could ruin the furniture before you even have to start paying for it. That makes no sense to me whatsoever. And speaking of finding a good deal on used stuff, furniture is one of those things that you can pay like pennies on the dollar, literally. So I have a friend that was telling me, he lives down in Layton, and he was telling me that he'd gone to the DI and he found a headboard, and then he went to a different DI and found the matching dresser, and then went back to the first DI and found the matching end tables, and it cost him less than $200 to put all the furniture in this specific bedroom. And I thought that was pretty good. So don't listen to the advertisers. It isn't just TV that is using advertising to get you to part with your money. Social media is really big at it. And in 2019, when I was still in school, I returned to college as an adult. I took a class called social media marketing. It was unheard of when I first went to college a million years ago when I graduated. Just unfathomable. But social media is really good at pushing things and marketing to young kids and adults alike. We have an entire generation of college students, some who have graduated and some who have not, who have lots of student loan debt because they did not know that they could go to college without taking out student loans. They thought they had no choice but to take out loans to go to college. Parents, I think, yes, it's their responsibility. I'm not sure if parents realized how bad the situation was, or it has now become, you know, obviously can't see into the future. But student loans are pushed on students, along with credit cards and other forms of debt. They are, first-year college students are bombarded. Yes, you have been awarded a loan. Yeah, thank you. Oh, that's my sister. Hi, Carrie. Yeah. Okay. Enough about the evil advertising agencies in the world, but just, it's important for you to let your kids know they're going to see messages out there about debt, just like they're going to see messages about other things that you really don't want them to get into. Now, we know that spending money is really easy. I heard a story about a little girl who told Alexa that she wanted a dollhouse, and Alexa is linked to Amazon and it's got your credit card information there. And a few days later, an expensive dollhouse arrived on her parents' porch. So it's not hard to spend money. And I want to say this little girl was like 5, and here she was having a conversation with a piece of technology, and it ordered her a dollhouse. We live in a world of instant gratification. We're used to it. I have seen teenagers throw a fit and actually throw their phone against the wall because it wasn't working fast enough. Depending on what it is, learning to save for something you want is not a fast process. It's very, very slow. It can take a long time. It's a brutal exercise in patience. But there comes a sense of pride when your child has saved for something, and learning to save and delay that gratification helps them to expound upon that concept in the future with larger purchases. Advertisers are going to tell you that you deserve something and you deserve it now. So parents, your job is pretty big. And it, like I said, it's going to go counter to what the world has told you. But what else is new? Teaching your kids to be patient and work for something will help eliminate entitlement. Entitlement's a big word right now, and we don't want our kids to grow up with thinking that they deserve everything right this minute. We have to work for it. Kids need to know they need to learn to work and to wait, and everything doesn't come right now. Sometimes things don't come for a really long time, and that's okay. We need to plan and save, and saving for something you want is a really mature thing to do. When your kids are saving, be sure to verbally praise them and tell them that they are making a mature choice. What kid doesn't want to hear that they're making a mature choice? I think those words could be very powerful. I've taken multiple finance classes, and I remember one instructor saying, you can have anything you want. You just can't have everything you want. And that is true. It comes down to priorities, setting goals, and working those goals. Allowing children to save their own hard-earned money for what they want, and then allowing them to buy it when they've got enough money will set them up for success. It helps them think more carefully about their purchases. and it will help them set goals. But make sure that you write goals down, because goals that are not written are only a wish. So I'm going to suggest doing something that I think my Discovery Destination is going to make into a Discovery Family Adventure. So Shirley, listen up. I never did this, but I like this idea. I think it'd be a fabulous way to teach kids about money in the household. It's kind of time intensive and it takes some planning. So you bring home a month's worth of income and you bring it in cash, okay? If you want a really good effect, you do it in all ones. Now I know that's a lot to ask, but you have a list of all your expenses and your debt payments handy. Include your federal and state taxes and groceries, everything. And have your kids help you count out the amount of money for each item on your list. Do kids really think about what it costs to have a roof over their head? When they see this big pile of ones, here's our big pile of ones, and half or a third or whatever it is goes to paying for the house and all the utilities. This and food, this is just what it costs us to live. I think it's a real eye opener for kids. So if you are able to put money aside for college right now, make sure you include that. Include insurances that come due every 6 months if you save monthly for them, which I recommend doing, by the way. It allows you to see your cost of living and how much is left over. And like I said, I think we're going to make it into an adventure. So hang on tight. Now, speaking of Discovery Family Adventures, there is one called Money Smart Kids that will help you teach your children to be savvy shoppers. So I suggest you either go to the Goose Chase app to Discovery Family Adventures, or to My Discovery Destination's website. I think it's /adventures, I think. Every time I type that in there, I can't seem to find it, but I have to. MyDiscoveryDestination.com. You'll click on the links, find the Discovery Family Adventures. And get them involved in stuff. That's probably one of the best ways to learn. They're going to learn math as well as some budgeting and spending and saving techniques. Does anybody have any more questions? We're just a couple minutes under my goal time of 45 minutes. So time for questions. Kim, anything that I have missed?
I don't see anything that's come through unless somebody has something they want to ask right now.
Okay, if you have a question or a comment right now, we'd love to hear your opinions. We'd love to hear and answer your questions. And if I can't, then maybe someone else in this group can, or I do some research and answer them in one of our Facebook groups or live next week.
Option. Okay, so at the bottom.
Meagan?
Yes.
I need to do the giveaways.
Yes, I will not end this until we give away some free stuff.
Okay, and I'm kind of going back and forth between two. So
okay, well, if you have a minute now.
Yeah, in just a minute. Give me just a minute. So answer questions for just a minute.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions? My sister Carrie, I'll pick on her. Anything you want to add or share? She doesn't want to.
One idea my aunt had with her kids, she would have them save a certain percentage or whatnot. And then if they ended up putting things like birthday money or stuff like that into their savings, she would do a percentage of increase from the parents. So like if they decided to put their $5 of birthday money from grandma, then she would, I think she doubled it when they were young, but then once they got older, it got a little harder.
Yes.
But yeah, so they could see like, oh, that's cool. Like I get even more money because mom and dad are willing to double it, or to help increase. And they talked about interest and they talked about all those things. So that was a way for them to kind of hands-on do it.
That's awesome. I like that. For those of you that joined us last week and won a prize, Smart Money, Smart Kids, Dave Ramsey's daughter, Rachel, tells a story about that kind of situation. Their dad matched money for the car. So you'll have to go watch the DVD that came with it and hear Rachel's story. It's really cute. Yeah, Shirley, back to you.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm here.
Sure you are. Did we lose you?
She's muted. Oh,
okay, Meagan?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay, let me go ahead and do giveaways. You guys, I'm so sorry. Today was a crazy one. I'm really looking forward to going back and listening to everything so I get to hear all of it. But I have for the giveaway, I have here that we've got Janelle, Carrie, and Catherine E. Is that correct? Did I miss anyone?
Alex is here. And I don't think Alex was here last week.
Okay, that's not Emily then?
Nope, this is her husband.
Perfect. Okay, great. Woo. Okay. So you guys, we're doing this. I know that you guys all have the resources. For today, we're going to do a drawing for a $25 family experience. Okay, that's going to help you with your finances because it's going to save you money. So I'm doing a drawing here, and let me hurry. And sorry, I've got to write your names down so I can draw.
Lindsay's asking if Bryson's part of the drawing.
Yeah, Bryson is our intern. We're so excited to have him be here with us. But yeah, you know what? I'm going to put him in the drawing. Yeah, I'm going to put him in the drawing on this because grant purposes, it needs to not go to team members, but I'm going to put him in for this one. Okay, you ready, you guys? I'm doing the drawing. And our winner is, are you ready? Let me mix them up better. Alex, you win.
Woohoo!
Okay, I'm going to, you guys, sorry, I promise this will not happen on most weeks. But yeah, today was a crazy one. So congratulations, Alex, and I'll turn it back to you, Meagan and Kim.
Okay. All right. If there are nothing else, then we're going to end this. We will post the recording tonight. Takes a few minutes to get it downloaded and stuff. So,
Meagan?
Yes.
I had somebody tell me once, and they did this with their older kids, like their kids were 13 and up. I'm like, I can't see doing it with younger. They said when they got an income, they actually divided a portion of the income up. And then they taught their kids, they looked at all the bills and they taught their kids that, a portion of the bills are their expenses also. And so they actually, like their kids, they gave their kids so much of the income and made them pay for their TV or pay for their electricity, their gas, their things like that. And if she had to clean their room for them, she charged them for cleaning their room. It was just kind of a way that they could see that money comes in, but it all goes out to different things.
That's interesting. That's interesting. But I wonder if they were given an opportunity to work to earn more, maybe.
Yeah, they were given an opportunity to do extra things, or if they if somebody didn't do their chores, they had the opportunity, if they wanted to do somebody else's chores and charge them for it.
Oh, so, I kind of like that idea.
it was kind of an interesting situation I never thought before, but I'm like, that might work.
Yeah,
so
that might work.
They seem to have success with it.
Yeah, well, good. It does. It teaches them, like you said, about the link between money and work, and not doing your work and having to pay someone else. I'll read what Carrie posted. She said, as far as immediate gratification goes, when anybody has a job, their manager doesn't walk up and pay you every hour. You got to wait 2 weeks, or approximately 2 weeks, for your money, and that's how life is. So yeah, she says, don't plan on immediate gratification. That's for sure. That's for sure. I think it's important for little kids to understand, because little kids, they see the immediate connection, but as they get a little bit older, you kind of change things. You have to do things littler for 3 and 4 and 5 year olds than you do for 9 or 10. So Anything else? Anybody else? All right. Well, I think we're gonna say that we've had a great meeting. Thanks for coming, and we'll see you next week. And can I remember the next week's topic? No, I think it has to do with generosity. I think we'll watch for the post in the Facebook groups. So, and like I said, the recording will be on later tonight. So everybody have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.